Picture this. You were enjoying a spicy deluxe Big Back combo one day in 2017, and your bountiful meal is interrupted by the sounds of arguing, screaming, and fighting from the car next to you in line. All of a sudden, you see the car next to you being attacked by an angry person jumping up and down on the roof, breaking the windshield. Suddenly, your underground GOAT, SoundCloud final boss, TAY K, emerges from the passenger seat of the car, brandishing a firearm, arguing with the person on top of the car. However, things would take a monstrous turn when TAY K fires multiple times, striking the person in the car, and then takes a bag of weed and stuffed it into his lifeless body's mouth. This is the exactly horrible scene at a Chick-fil-A off of the 410 in San Antonio, Texas, that was played out over and over again before a Bexar County jury almost 8 years exactly since the day. Tamar McIntyre, aka rapper TAY-K47, can be seen rocking the imprisoned rapper starter kit glasses to look studious, despite being charged with multiple murders, and a turtleneck under a suit to project innocence. He was there fighting for what was left of his life. He had previously been convicted of a separate murder in 2016 that already had him sentenced to 55 years. However, this next case was looking like it was the nail in the coffin, because if he were to lose this case, it would mean he would probably never see the light of day in a free world. The jury was finished deliberating. They gave their decision to the judge, who was ready to read it out, and after a relatively quick trial, and the decision pretty much shocked no one who has been following this case.
Ladies and gentlemen, it's my understanding that you've reached a verdict in this case. Is that correct? We, the jury, find the defendant, Tamar McIntyre, not guilty of the offense of capital murder. Excuse me, no. No, out of the courtroom. Out of the courtroom. The jury find the defendant, Tamar McIntyre, guilty of the lesser included offense of murder.
The story of TAY K is honestly one of the most dystopian examples of social media driving society into the ground. A 16-year-old mass murderer who makes good music goes viral for dropping music videos and songs after cutting his ankle monitor off while being on the run. It seems like his music success took off overnight, with Travis Scott, 21 Savage, and Maxo Cream co-signs, and what followed was an album with a first-hand account of the mind of an actual killer. It was a crazy time. People seemed to be obsessed because of their sheer authenticity of his lyrics. When bro rapped he was gonna kill someone, he was definitely telling the truth. While at the time, it seemed that everyone was rooting for the underdog rapper to win and beat the system, it seems that everywhere TAY K went, bodies would follow. From the 2 murders we know about to a separate murder in 2016 that is rarely even talked about, we gotta get into the bodies that got TAY-K47 a life sentence right now to explain how everything went down from the jump. But before we get into it, man, you gotta run up this merch we just dropped at StaySafeWorld.com. Link in the description. New tees, hella fire. And make sure you tap in, like, comment, subscribe. We're on the road to 100K subs. We're dropping videos every single day until we hit 100K. So make sure you hit that notification bell so whenever I post, y'all tune in. So let's get into this with chapter 1. TAY K, born Tamar Tavon McIntyre, was pretty much cooked from birth, because if you know the environment that he grew up in, you'd be pretty unsurprised that bro went on and killed people. Born in Long Beach, California to a family of gangbangers, he pretty much spent his time between California, Nevada, and Texas in different foster homes. Eventually, him and his sister were forced to live with their dad in East Arlington, Texas, where he experienced abuse and a broken home. They never had any structure in their lives, as their dad was in and out of jail and was super institutionalized and would regularly beat them. In a recent Say Cheese TV interview, his sister would talk about how the abuse got so bad that they had to eventually leave their home and go to the streets.
Bro, like, life was messed up. Like, we kind of like, it was abuse going on in our home. We had to leave.
TAY K was still very young at the time and never got the chance to even attend high school after dropping out early in his 9th grade. He was already in the streets wreaking havoc in West Arlington, Texas. It was around this time that he would join a Crip set called Rugrats and went all in with his music, performing with a group called Daytona Boys with Pimpies and Satana Sage. He started gaining attention within the Arlington music scene with songs like Sly Cooper and Mega Man, and turned up at local shows. It was one of these local shows in 2016 where the first body would go down with the murder of an innocent bystander and the arrest of his mentor and group member, which we'll get into in chapter 2. On January 1st, 2016, the Daytona Boys were performing a New Year's Eve celebration in Denton, Texas. The show went well, and all the members were pretty much turned out of their mind, feeling like they were on the come up. While pulling off from the venue, they would pull up to a red light. The car next to them would be the car of Sarah Mussensinger, a sorority sister, driving their friends home from a near New Year's Eve party as the designated driver. What happened next has been the subject of many different stories. Many say a road rage incident took place, and members of both cars started yelling at each other. Bystanders and Sarah Sarah's car would say that it would start off by one of the people in the SUVs saying sexual comments toward them and people shouting back and forth. Regardless of how it started, the next thing that would go down would shock the Denton, Texas community.
We do actually have a pretty tough story to tell you about starting off this half hour. There's a scramble right now to solve a New Year's Eve homicide. The hunt is on this morning for the gunman who opened fire on a car driven by a popular sorority sister.
She was taking friends home from a party, but they drove straight into trouble, and ABC's Aditi Roy joins us with this heartbreaking story. Hi, Aditi.
Good morning, Paula and Dan. This story beyond heartbreaking. This morning, police in Texas are asking for the public's help in finding the people responsible for the death of a young college student. She was helping her friends out on New Year's Eve by being their designated driver, but she never made it back home. This morning, police on the hunt for the men who they say gunned down this college student on New Year's Eve, turning a night of celebration into a road rage murder mystery.
We've got a lot of people that we're wanting to talk with at this time.
According to investigators, University of North Texas junior Sarah Muchleckner was acting as a designated driver after attending a New Year's Eve party with a group of her sorority sisters Thursday night. But while the 20-year-old's car was stopped at a red light, an SUV pulled up alongside it, a confrontation ensuing.
5 to 6 African-American males were inside that vehicle, exchanged some words with them.
Moments later, one of the men in the SUV opened fire.
Eric Johnson, aka Santana Sage, would then produce a firearm and shoot into the car, striking Sarah in the head, killing her instantly, before pulling off and leaving the scene. Tay K was in the backseat of the car and literally saw everything. Just several hours later, they were all detained, but Santana Sage would be the only person charged for the crime. He would later lose his case and get sentenced to 40 years. It's safe to say that this shooting had a terrible influence on Tay K's life. Imagine growing up, seeing your family gangbanging, your best friend killing someone in front of you for no reason, and you're obviously going to think that that's normal and recreate the same behavior. And unfortunately, that seemed to be the case in the initial situation that brought him nationwide fame, his first murder charge. On July 26, 2016, members of the Mansfield community would wake up to gunshots going off in the middle of the night. Police respond to the 1500 block of Aspen Court at around 10:30 p.m. It was there where they would discover 2 men shot, one of which was dead on arrival from his injuries. Police would begin investigations and were able to find out the entirety of the information relatively quickly due to the amount of people who were involved. They were later able to apprehend everyone involved and interrogated Tay K. It was this point in a 2.5 hour long interrogation he would admit to playing a role in the crime, but he would state that he wasn't the one who pulled the trigger, and he also didn't go there with any intent to harm anyone.
Alyssa Rowell is the girlfriend of the man killed, 21-year-old Ethan Walker.
I was in shock and I was confused.
Step by step, she described what happened that night 3 years ago when they were at Walker's house playing a video game and a masked gunman burst in demanding money and drugs.
He waved it around and he told us to get on the ground.
Walker was shot and killed.
The plan apparently took a dramatic turn when one of the robbers decided to shoot a victim for no reason, but the police were able to uncover an elaborate scheme to take down a plug, and that all started on July 26. On that day, Megan Holt, Ariana Barat conspired with Tay K and several other friends to rob Zachary Bellotti. The pair planned to seduce him and then let Tay K enter the house armed with guns to steal drugs and money. One of the 2 women unlocked the door and the gunman proceeded to rob Bellotti and his friend Ethan Walker. Apparently Bellotti and Ethan were posted up playing video games when Tay K, Pimpy Z, and Letharian Merritt would burst in demanding guns and drugs. While both of the men had their hands up, Letharian Merritt apparently shot Ethan Walker in the stomach, killing him at the scene before they all fled. After Tay K's arrest, his trial was delayed because of lack of evidence, and then he was put on house arrest by a juvenile judge. McIntyre was placed on that arrest in January 2017 while awaiting certification hearing. A few days before the hearings were held on March 27, 2017, Tay K and Pimpy Z cut off the ankle monitors and fled to San Antonio, Texas. Just before cutting his ankle monitor off and going on the run, McIntyre wrote the following on Twitter: "Fuck this house arrest shit. Fuck 12. They gonna have to catch me on hood." McIntyre made his way to Elizabeth, New Jersey, where he recorded the song The Race, which described his run from the police and his legal trouble. This would spark the infamous moment in his career where he became an underground rap legend. Him cutting off his ankle monitor and going on the run really had people rooting for him, you know, underdog behavior. Releasing a song, talking about it while on the run, using his actual wanted poster in the video, just had people going crazy to think, is this even real? This is part of his story that I always thought was crazy because they didn't have that much evidence. If he really tried fighting the case and staying where he was, was, he probably could have beat it and, you know, not murdered the cameraman that they basically killed while on the run, that put the final nail in his coffin as far as prison time. But bro got too cocky and thought he could drop all this and still beat his case. But I guess hindsight is 2020, because what happened next pretty much left bro overcooked, and that's in chapter 3, the murder of Mark Saldivar.
Police are still looking for 4 people that were riding in a car with a man prior to him being shot and killed in a parking lot outside a Northside fast food restaurant yesterday.
As Pilar Arias reports, we're still waiting to learn the identification of the man that died.
We're here at the Chick-fil-A off Northeast Loop 410 and McCullough, where police responded to the shooting call just before 5:30 yesterday. The man's body was found right there in the parking lot. Police telling us the victim, 3 other men and 1 woman were riding in a small black sedan when an argument broke out. Prior to being shot, the man killed got out and the driver attempted to run him over. That's when the victim held onto the car, got on top of it, and began kicking the windshield. One of those 4 people still in the car pulled a handgun.
On April 23rd, 2017, while still on the run, TAY K and Pimpies were pretty much broke, trying to get by day by day. While on April 23rd, 2017, while still on the run, TAY K and Pimpies were pretty much broke, trying to get by day by day. At one point, they mugged an old man walking around Arlington for money, and then this time of day, they were looking to come up on a new lick. They were riding around with TAY K's girlfriend, attempting to lure a photographer by the name of Mark Saldivar to come do a shoot. But instead of actually shooting, they were planning on robbing him of his photo equipment and pawning it off. Saldivar got in the SUV where they then attempted to rob him. He escaped the SUV and started to shout for help. McIntyre accelerated in an attempt to hit him. Saldivar then jumped on the hood of the SUV, kicking the windshield until McIntyre allegedly exited the car and shot him once before driving away. They would then flee to Elizabeth, New Jersey, where they would film the video for the race, and he would live on with some major fame for about 2 months before he was arrested by U.S. Marshals pretty easily in June of 2017. He was then charged for the murder of Ethan Walker and charged for the murder of Mark Saldivar as well. Both cases pretty much cooked him. The first case, he ended up beating his capital murder charge, but still being sentenced to 55 years for aggravated robbery. Just yesterday, in his second murder case, he was up against the odds when his girlfriend would testify against him, basically providing context for the CCTV footage that was released. In this situation, she pretty much said that exactly what happened and said TAY K killed Mark Saldivar on the spot when they tried to rob him. Again, he beat his capital murder charges, so he won't get the death penalty, but he was charged again for murder and found guilty. It's a super crazy situation, man. I mean, it's not surprising if you listen to his music, but I feel like the crazy thing for everyone is just listening to it as it was happening was really just providing like the insight of what a killer thing and a real gangbanger, institutionalized, fried ass jit that had nothing really going on. All the people around him were on the same things. Honestly, it's just super crazy. It was a lot of people just at the wrong place at the wrong time, getting caught up in the moment thinking that this was a normal person, but bro was straight a killer, didn't care, on the run. And honestly, I guess he knew he was gonna lose the case, because why else would he go on the run? You know, he said they're gonna try to have to catch me, so he was like trying to live out his last days before he gets arrested and stuff like that. But honestly, it's just crazy, man. And this kind of spawned, I feel like, the original YN. This is like the super YN. This dude like the final bosses of YNs, out here straight murking people for literally the most